Well, I want to comment about the most recent shooting that happened in the United States. The children over in Sandy Hook Elementary School. And also we had the Colorado shooting just recently in the movie theater. I'm very suspicious of actually, what is going on behind the scenes. If you look back in history not that long, the 1968 Gun Control Act was actually largely passed because not that many years prior, John F. Kennedy was killed by the lone gunman, quote unquote, which we know that was BS. It was actually a conspiracy to, he was getting after people that were the conspirators, I guess you would say, and they silenced him, and he was not going to continue on with the Vietnam War. And he was making moves to stop the Federal Reserve with his silver certificates backed by silver. So, and then we had also Martin Luther King was assassinated, which I have other theories on that. I mean, you can get into a lot of detail, but I don't think it was a lone gunman, as they state. And then you have Bobby Kennedy, who was also assassinated. So they all used this as an excuse to pass the 1968 gun control laws, which were about, before you used to be able to just order a gun anywhere, no numbers or anything like that. You just buy it. It was just like buying a tool. And there was actually really no controls on the market at all. So, but once these events happened, they used it as an excuse. But the events actually were perpetrated by the top people in the country, the conspirators, if you will. Now, in these cases, also with Colorado and also in the Colorado movie theater shooting, and also the Sandy Hook shooting of the children, both these people that perpetrated these crimes were under the care of psychiatrists. And if you're looking at, well, in my opinion, a psychiatrist, this is one of the biggest quack professions going. They're about as good as, I used to consider them almost like the religious people back in the 1800s where they freaking burned people at the stake. And except they do it with psychiatric drugs. I would almost think that some of the crap that these psychiatrists gave these people contributed to the crime greatly. So, as far as what I would say to any person that actually needs psychiatric help, very common sense thing. I always put up the bicycle, but actually sometimes physical activity goes a great deal, and team sports and working together, even playing soccer, volleyball, or riding a bicycle, that type of stuff goes greatly towards alleviating depression, anxiety, and all types of things, and working together as a team. Psychologists just give drugs. They're jerks. They're total idiots. I never dealt with these guys too much, but I kind of have like some outside knowledge of some of their garbage. And from what I know, I hate them. I hate them. Now, I just want to point something else out. In the absence of guns, this is a story I'm going to highlight. In China, 22 children stabbed outside primary school in China by some crazy guy, whoever the hell it was. So, if you have no guns, somebody uses it as something else. And actually, a lot of these people with all these initials after their names that work for these big drug companies, basically they're narcissistic bastards pushing things onto children and other people that are killing them slowly through artificially induced means, such as through like drugs that the kids will need to alleviate anxiety, alleviating depression, to help them pay attention more in school, or so they're not moving around as much. They're bigger murderers than this guy actually did it with the gun, except they're doing it over a slower period of time. Or flu shots, which maybe make people sterile or whatever the hell it is, which may be part of the game. I just want to point out, though, don't give in to this bullshit, because the reason they're going after guns, is because people who are armed are a problem to people who are control freaks. When they're control freaks, they don't want armed people because they'll fight back. Well, hopefully they'll fight back. That's the way I look at it. Which, going back to like some common sense, the bicycle too is something where a lot of times people have that childhood experience and they feel like they feel happy. It's a good activity. I never heard of any psychologists or psychiatrists, actively telling people to do this. It's actually somebody who works in maybe a community help center might be doing a hell of a lot more good, or a parish. Works with the people. People walk into an office and they see this person and they talk to him, and then the guy gives them some drugs. That jerk ain't doing anybody any good. You'd be better off buying a bicycle. Here, have a tricycle, sit down and go ride around. You feel better, right? And, as far as like the drugs themselves, some of the best stuff out there is like just the plain old vitamins, and staying away from stuff like sweet and low and aspartame, because they're like neurotoxins. But some of the best things out there to help alleviate anxiety and depression is niacin, vitamin B3. Take extra high doses of it. You take a few 1,000 milligram pills a day, and most people get rid of schizophrenia, according to actual scientific studies. But they can't have like a prescription that costs $30 that lasts you for like over a half a year, given out to people, because they'll lose the big bucks on all the other garbage they do. And the other thing is using electromedicine. But electromedicine could also be done artificially. I mentioned about the BT7 biotuner from Soda Instruments that can help relax people, eliminate depression and anxiety. It puts out the Schumann Earth frequency, right? But you know where you get the Schumann Earth frequency from? Being connected to the Earth. In other words, when you're standing on the ground with shoes on, rubber soles, you're disconnected from the Earth. But when you're on the beach or something like that, and the sun and the waves, and you're laying on the sand, you're directly connected to the Earth. Actually, that has a lot of healing power and a lot of relaxation that's involved. So, as far as, what can be done, some of the simplest, cheapest things in the world actually make a big difference. And I think, in my opinion, these shooters, I think, I don't know if we could say it's some kind of total setup by the government, but these shooters that committed these crimes in Colorado and also in the East Coast on a Sandy Hook elementary school, if they were not under the traditional care of these psychiatrists, it probably would not have happened. I'm serious. It probably would not have happened. If these people were worked with in different ways, there would probably been a totally different outcome. So my point on this too is, first, don't freaking give in to their bullshit, because I really think, it's just like the cause of the shooting is definitely not the gun, but it may be the psychologist. And also, number two, the elite are using any event they possibly can to disarm the population, so they can just own them like a bunch of dogs and run them, and just run roughshod all over everybody. So, but this has to be drilled into people's heads. But if there is something with gun control coming up, I don't know. But I would fight it every single way. And I guess the only other thing around that is to, just hide your guns. I mean, what the hell can I say? Hide them. So, if it does come down to that, do not let, the United States become like what happened in Australia. That's crazy. And actually, I'd imagine in Australia, there's a lot of people probably have guns anyway. People aren't stupid, That's like if they outlawed food. What would you do? Give up all your food and just die? I mean, really. I mean, just because you're supposed to outlaw air, would you stop breathing? So, there's a limit to the bullshit. That's all I got to say. Just beware. And the biggest criminals on this earth are the psychiatrists and the psychologists. Actually, I think they're probably the main reason these crimes were committed. They don't know what the hell they're doing.